And joining us now is a central figure in the president's impeachment defense, Harvard Law Professor Emeritus and Newsmax contributor Alan Dershowitz. Professor Dershowitz, great to talk to you.
Thank you.
All right. Also, we'd like to mention you are the author of a new book called Guilt by Accusation, The Challenge of Proving Innocence in the Me Too Age. All right,
and
Professor Dershowitz.
You can get it for $1.98 on Kindle, the cost of a candy bar, so please read it.
Okay. We'll get the plug in there. Soon it will be your turn to present your case for President Trump's dismissal or the dismissal of this impeachment. Before we get into the legal aspects here, personally, I just wanted to ask you what it's like to be so centrally involved in something that's only happened 3 times in our nation's history.
Well, it's a great honor, but I'm being pilloried by the left-wing media. People are challenging my motives, saying I'm doing it because I'm old and I'm a has-been, or because I'm getting paid a fortune of money, not, or because I'm trying to bring myself into the limelight, or because I've changed and become a conservative Republican. I've never seen so much attack on a lawyer since the days of McCarthy when I was in college, and it's pretty obnoxious. People are saying I'm not a constitutional lawyer, even though I taught constitutional criminal procedure for 50 years at Harvard, taught a course on impeachment, have written 25 articles and 5 books on the Constitution. People would be praising my constitutional credentials if I were coming out the way they want me to come out. Right. But because I'm coming out the other way, they're challenging me in every possible way. It is real McCarthyism. Well, I want to play some of Adam Schiff's opening from today. Take a listen here.
Mm-hmm. If this conduct is not impeachable, then nothing is. But he does not, under our laws and under our Constitution, have a right to use the powers of his office to corruptly solicit foreign aid, prohibited foreign aid in his reelection. He does not.
Well, the Democrats have been re-litigating their case from the House. Also, a lot of discussion today about witnesses. And, back in November, U.S. District Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson weighed in on the subject of presidential power and immunity from these subpoenas. He said that presidents are not kings, and that judge also ordered Don McGahn, the White House counsel, to testify. We know that's being appealed. But is it fair to say that the longer lasting implication of this impeachment is the precedent it'll set for the limits or the lack thereof when it comes to executive power?
Yeah, first I want to comment on that absurd notion that people throw around every day that presidents aren't kings. No king in the history of the world ever had as much power as the President of the United States today has. The President of the United States has the power to save the world, destroy the world. No king in England or France ever had that power. Obviously, there's a big difference between the powers he has in the country, which are limited by our separation of powers and checks and balances, and the king's authority to do whatever he wanted in his country. But I just always reject the analogy between presidents and kings. Kings were relatively weak compared to, say, to Congress, no, I'm not going to send money to the Ukraine if he doesn't think it's part of American foreign policy, or to Cuba if the Congress were to allocate money to Cuba. The Supreme Court has upheld presidential authority over foreign policy, over the power of Congress. And so I think we've heard a lot of misleading arguments today. And most of the arguments that we heard today are not constitutional arguments. They're just policy arguments. Right. They're arguments that would lead you to decide who to vote for president, but not who to impeach.
Which, a lot of people say is the real motive behind this whole entire exercise. President Trump weighing in today on the possibility also of having former National Security Advisor John Bolton testify at the trial. Here's the president from Switzerland.
I would rather go the long way. I would rather interview Bolton. I would rather interview a lot of people. The problem with John is that it's a national security problem. He knows other things, and I don't know if we left on the best of terms. I would say probably not, and so you don't like people testifying when they didn't leave on good terms, and that was due to me, not due to him.
At this stage of the game, Professor Dershowitz, what do you say the odds are that we will hear from John Bolton or any of the other witnesses in this trial?
I think very slight odds. Let me tell you why. Because even if the Democrats get to call witnesses and they call John Bolton, and John Bolton runs into the building saying, I want to testify, it's not his decision. It's the president's decision. He can invoke executive privilege. And if he does, the case has to go to court. Congress has no authority to make the final decision as to whether executive privilege applies. And so we're talking about a trial now that's delayed perhaps months. And I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, you see no other way. You see a court challenge resulting from this? No other way around it?
Oh, I don't see how there's any other way unless the president changes his mind. But he has said, he told Laura Ingraham explicitly in an interview that he planned to invoke executive privilege as to John Bolton. And he just said in this other statement that, he may have left under terms that would raise questions about whether the president wants him to testify. Now, the end result, if it goes to court, is he probably will be allowed to testify about certain things, but not other things. They will split the baby. And matters relating to national security will not be an appropriate subject of testimony, even in secret, because executive privilege doesn't apply only to the public. It applies to Congress as well.
And therefore, it wouldn't be much use to the Democrats to prove their case. And so, it is an interesting angle still to come, what's going to happen with the witnesses. Professor Dershowitz, when are you expected to deliver your testimony?
Well, after the other side finishes, they have 3 days. So they have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So I'll probably go either on Saturday or Monday. I'm prepared to go right now. I have prepared. I've spent a lot of time with old dusty books, and I prepared quite an original argument, I think, based on the history and based on prior precedents as to why these two articles of impeachment are unconstitutional and cannot stand as a matter of law.
Well, America will be watching. Professor Alan Dershowitz, thanks so much for taking the time. Great to see you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing news channel, now in 65 million homes. Get Newsmax TV on all the major cable systems or go to newsmaxtv.com and click on the Find Newsmax tab to locate us. Remember, Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.